Right, so Keir Starmer, as regular viewers will know, has been conducting a poll of Muslim voters to find out how much damage he's caused, not just over the issue of Israel and Palestine, but throughout his 4-year, already far too long tenure as Labour leader to Labour's Muslim support. And as I said in my video on this the other day, that if it's bad, he probably won't publish the party's findings. Well, the Labour Muslim Network, Labour's Muslim affiliate body, has published its poll findings, and it shows Starmer and his party are in a whole world of trouble. So if this is indeed the same poll Starmer wanted done, they're a Labour affiliate, it could be the same poll. They haven't clarified, actually. And given it's come from an affiliate body, I see no reason to assume otherwise. It's somewhat surprising it's been published then. So perhaps they think they can maybe put some spin on it? Right, so Starmer and his poll of Muslims. It was always going to be bad. There is such a list of offensiveness that can now be pointed to from Starmer's Labour to Muslim voters. A vote he has absolutely been taken for granted for too long, which is now refusing to be taken for granted any longer, it seems. There was the Labour Leaks report, where Starmer has been more fixated on finding out who leaked it rather than address the issues it contained, including various cases of Islamophobia. There was the Forde Report, which Starmer was forced to commission off the back of that Labour Leaks report, which he hoped would blame everything on Corbyn, and when it didn't, he kicked the report down the road for 2 years before it eventually got released, and yet more examples of Islamophobia were then found there as well. Starmer clearly that uninterested in dealing with it. He's ignored it ever since. He's banned MPs from meeting with the author Martin Forde. But if it were antisemitism, he would be all over it, and therein lies the rub. The people of Gaza and the rest of Palestine weren't even the first Muslims for him to abandon as leader, as he threw the oppressed people of Kashmir under a bus for expediency, more interested in courting their Indian oppressors. All after a meeting with the far less well-known but very on-the-nose name, so much so that you can guess what they're all about, the Labour Friends of India. Starmer has targeted Muslim candidates for deselection. The mass deselection of predominantly Muslim councillors in Leicester before last year's local elections were notable because they then saw him lose a swathe of seats there. And where Muslims have put themselves forward for candidacy around the country, there are numerous examples of them having been sidelined. He accepted donations from alleged Islamophobes. He reversed the suspension of Sky News host Trevor Phillips without investigation, who had been suspended on accusations of Islamophobia. Labour under Starmer has run by-election campaigns accused of being Islamophobic, and to top it all off, Starmer, when running for leader, signed up to 10 pledges. Not those same ones that he created, mind, but 10 pledges that the Muslim Council of Britain had. But just like his own 10 pledges, he didn't mean them either. There's more I could mention, so it seems obvious in light of such conduct by the Labour Party that they lose support amongst Muslim voters. They have been utterly taken for granted, and it was the Labour Muslim Network who conducted a poll, as Labour itself announced they were doing so, of Muslim voters as regards voting intention coming to the next general election, just to see how much damage Starmer has done, and boy has he done some damage according to the poll they have commissioned. They went to Survation to do theirs, often regarded as one of the better pollsters, and this is the result. Having polled Muslim voters between the 18th of January and the 3rd of February, Labour has dropped from enjoying the support of 86% of Muslim voters to just 60%. And in fact, if undecided voters get included in that, the figure drops to 43%, so that's half of the Muslim vote Labour had at the time of the 2019 general election potentially gone now. Well, 60% though, that's still a lot, I can hear you say. They've clearly still got the support of most Muslims here. And maybe that is why these results did get published then. That 26% being the fleas being shaken off, as a Labour source allegedly referred to Muslim Labour voters as. But still, that's over a quarter of the Muslim vote having walked away. And it is likely only going to go up from there. I'm not just talking about Starmer's attitude to Muslims not shifting here either. It won't. But it's how Muslim communities tend to vote and what influences that counts too. And this might sound a bit rich coming from a white bloke, so I'm going to quote somebody far more knowledgeable about such things than I, Taj Ali of Tribune magazine, a Luton lad and a Muslim. He put out a Twitter thread saying, "For far too long, Labour has approached minority communities through the prism of so-called community leaders, assured that they can deliver a block vote. Those self-serving careerists who nod along with the party leadership in the promise of a safe seat have lost all credibility. With the growing politicisation of young people in particular, that system is falling apart. Politicians will have to engage with the community as a whole. They will have to work hard to earn votes. They will be held to account at the ballot box. They turned a blind eye to Barandri caste-based politics in the Pakistani community, manipulated such divisions and striking up deals to ensure the votes are coming in. They absolutely detest those who speak truth to power, preferring to keep in place those who won't challenge them. Now, I found that really interesting, that Labour have a history of being so lazy amongst their Muslim voters, relying essentially on a group of influential people in those communities to essentially tell everyone else how to vote. Except now, after everything Starmer has done, from those reports he's ignored to weaponising a visit to a South Wales Islamic centre, the list of the party's insults to Muslim people, Muslim voters, just keeps getting longer and longer, and no longer are the words of these community leaders cutting through, and this system of a few telling the many how to vote in effect is cracking up. That implies there's no quick way of reversing this, and with all this list of issues all connected to the Starmer leadership itself, he's hardly the right person to win those votes back anyway. The Labour Muslim Network issued their own statement on these findings as well, saying, "The Muslim community has been amongst the most loyal Labour Party supporters anywhere in the United Kingdom. The findings of this new opinion poll shows a startling collapse of this electoral and communal relationship. This is a crisis point for the future of the relationship between the British Muslim community and the Labour Party. These findings come in the context of over 100 days of Israel's continuous assault on Gaza. Over 25,000 Palestinians have been killed, more than 10,000 of whom are children, and the Labour Party's response has been unacceptable and deeply offensive to Muslims across Britain. Muslim voters have been watching and are now sending a clear message. They will not support any political party that does not fervently oppose the crimes committed against the people of Gaza. The Labour leadership must change paths now or risk losing the support of the Muslim community for a generation." That's pretty damning, considering it's coming from a group of Labour Party supporters, a Labour Party affiliate body. It's a massive warning shot, and the party leadership should take note. But of course Starmer can't take any notice of it. He cannot go into reverse. He owes too much to too many who are too close to Israeli influence. He won't budge, he won't shift, and if he says he's going to, after the number of lies he's told, would you really trust him? He literally ran away from a planned, oh the delicious irony, a planned launch of equalities policy in Tottenham with David Lammy just yesterday. The moment protesters knew where he'd be, he won't even confront the mess he's made for himself. He's scarpered quick fast. He ended up delivering his speech elsewhere, preaching at that point only to the most loyal, hand-picked, hand-selected audience he could muster. The press were excluded as well, and he still went down like a bowl of cold sick at it. Those in attendance described Starmer as cold and horrible. His presentation was described as jingoistic, and there were union flags everywhere. It's not just amongst Muslims, really, that Starmer is becoming more unpopular with. Even the most ardent Labour supporters now, the minute they see him, listen to him, don't even like him either. Well, back to that question of trust, though. There are plenty of Muslim voters that aren't daft enough to trust Starmer, even if plenty of other people in this country will. They're already planning to move on, and know where they're going too. The same poll showed support for the Green Party amongst Muslim voters, who were the first party to demand a ceasefire in Gaza and have stuck by that from the very beginning, is up 900%. So there are options, and votes are going to be taken elsewhere. If not to them, then somebody else, perhaps an independent. We know that Muslim voters and activists are organising through a new setup called the Muslim Vote, which you can find out all about if you watch this video here next, and I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.